Nearly 24 train cars go off the rails in Warner Robins. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight, Houston County's EMA director says cleanup of the train derailment along Highway 247 off Robins Air Force Base will likely stretch into Friday or later. The good news, according to the county fire chief, Chris Stoner, and others, there's still no reported injuries and no sign of hazardous materials leaking. Meanwhile, the derailment is causing detours and road closings around the base, especially around the Watson Boulevard 247 intersection. Norfolk Southern Railroad says the train was headed from Macon to Valdosta. It carried 140 cars total and 22 of them derailed. We also asked railroad spokesperson Connor Spielmaker how fast the train was moving. He says the Federal Railroad Administration will look at that and other factors as they investigate the cause of the accident. Meanwhile, agencies, multiple ones, responded to yesterday's train derailment, including the Warner Robins Fire Department. Molly Jett joins us live to tell us how the county handles and trains for possible hazardous situations just like this one.
We are in the heart of Warner Robins. If you take a look over my left shoulder, just over here, you can see exactly where 22 train cars derailed just across from Robins Air Force Base. It's because of hazardous situations like this that the Warner Robins Fire Department trains every year in hazmat assessments and awareness. At 5:18 p.m., the Houston County 911 Center dispatched the Warner Robins Fire Department to the train derailment. They arrived 2 minutes later. That's according to Warner Robins Fire Chief Ross Moulton.
Every incident we go on, we establish a commander, we make assignments.
In situations like Tuesday's, agencies work together in a unified command to first get on scene and second, identify possible hazardous materials.
Lots of different people working together for a good outcome.
Moulton says they wore protective equipment, used drones, a helicopter, and a couple of apps like Ask Rail to determine what the train was carrying without getting too close.
If we put in any number of any car on that train, we can get the consist of the train, and so we know where every car is at in that particular train. We know what's on that car. We know what level it's filled to, if it's empty, half full.
Norfolk Southern Railroad says one of the products being hauled on the train was molten sulfur, but Chief Moulton said there were no leaks or fire, so it wasn't hazardous.
And several people saw our hazmat unit. It's an 18-wheel, white trailer that was out on 247 yesterday. We responded it just as a precaution until we were able to determine that it wasn't needed.
Fire Chief and Houston County Emergency Management Director Chris Stoner said there were no injuries.
It certainly could have been a lot worse than it was, but that's something that we plan for and train for in case it does happen. We're just happy and blessed that it didn't happen yesterday.
That could have been a more significant product on those trains. It was really a blessing that it wasn't more than it was.
And in every fire truck, firefighters can find an emergency response guide. It's a handbook that first responders use to assess situations like this, if the leak is too big, if it's too small, and how to go about that situation. Now, Chief Ross Moulton said that all agencies agreed that this was not a hazardous situation, so they did not have to initiate a code red or send out public text messages to you or others in the area to evacuate. Live in Warner Robins, Molly Jett, 13W MAZ News.
Thank you, Molly. Molten sulfur is used in fertilizer, rubber, solvents, and other products. That's according to Spielmaker. The cause of the wreck is still unknown. Taking a closer look, train accidents like the one in Warner Robins are more common than you might think. Online records from the Federal Railroad Administration show they investigated more than 200 accidents in Georgia since the start of 2020. That's about one every 4 days. We've covered some big ones in central Georgia during that time, like this one when nearly 36 Norfolk Southern train cars derailed in Washington County last August. Federal records online say a broken stretch of track caused that accident and led to more than $1.5 million in damage to train cars and the track. According to the records, another derailment in Washington County in 2020 and one in Macon County the same year also caused more than $1 million in damage. Federal investigators blamed both of those on track problems.